when you see Brady doing what he's doing right now, 9 touchdowns, and Gronk getting 4 of them, I mean, it's insane. It really, I don't. There's really no words for it, but I do want to put it in your lap here. Somebody who's played with him and knows what it takes to prepare for an NFL season physically, mentally, and the fact he's 44 and doing this, it does not compute, Chris.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think, and the scary thing is the Bucs are kind of, because they played in that spot with Atlanta, sandwiched in between like so many good games that were objectively like interesting and compelling. Like, I don't think a lot of people watched them last week, other than like Red Zone. So, no offense to Tampa fans. I mean, they've kind of gotten pretty quickly into this boring good mode. Last year they peak late, they win a Super Bowl, and you think like Super Bowl hangover, maybe a little rust. I've said this before. I think a lot of people made a little bit too big of a deal of the Bill and Tom head-to-head kind of narrative last year, because I just didn't think that would be the barometer for like what came first, the chicken or the egg up in New England. I actually think there's an interesting thread that people are missing this year, which is like Tom's brilliance when it comes to setting the tone, setting the temperature in a locker room after a Super Bowl run like that had to be exhausting, with all things considered in the pandemic and all that. This is even tougher to rebound from an effort like that. Like, so Tom Brady being able to get this team back into kind of like tip-top shape, focused, energized, playing good out of the gate, like that's New England stuff. That's like Bill Belichick stuff. So I thought this year the true test for Tom as a leader, which is almost a bit unfair, but he's played himself and led himself into this echelon of people that we can talk about this way. Like, this is the mark of the GOAT. Like, as much as anything, how you get a team to rebound after a Super Bowl effort and play like that Super Bowl team out of the gate. That rarely happens, and we know that. So that's a check mark in Tom's column. When you talk about him and Bill, he's at least part of why they were perpetually good at that in New England.
No, there's no question about that. There is no doubt that it's woven in his DNA, and that's what made the Brady-Belichick relationship work for as long as it did.
It's not win in one, Rich. It's win in, as many as they won there. And doing them sometimes, early on, like clustered together, and then, later that long break, but still being able to, after disappointing runs that might end in the end of the AFC Championship or in the Super Bowl, like they were able to pick themselves off the mat and play good football immediately the next year. It's hard to stay that way. I mean, I've been on, teams that were that way and then, fell off.
You forget that, Belichick and Brady lasted 20 years. That is unheard of.
Marriage.
We will never
100 years in human
honestly
terms.
Like Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to have to be attached at the hip together another 15 years to match it.
Yep.
From here, from this moment.
It is fun in New England, though. I do think, and this isn't taking anything away from Bill and Tom's relationship or that run. It was excellent in its own way, but I like seeing like a scrappy, resourceful Bill. He's always resourceful, but I think it's really fun to see this chapter. They've never had a quarterback, and I know Tom always took a haircut, but like you've got Mac Jones on a rookie deal. And if he's the guy, that means, you like seeing new faces in New England, like, the Nelson Aguilars of the world, the Judons of the world, like fun faces that are going to pop up there, and Bill's going to spend, and they're going to look differently. They're going to have to win differently. I think this is fun. Like, I've never wanted to watch the Pats more.
And it is interesting also to watch what Belichick is doing with Mac Jones, where Jones had the game that Robert Saleh wanted his kid and Zach Wilson to have, saying it's good to play boring. I mean, Mac Jones, his stat line was boring. And then, and then you heard from Belichick afterwards, and they asked him what you think about Mac Jones, and he did his usual response that was boring. And boring wins in the NFL if you don't make mistakes. And just seeing Belichick get this kid up to speed so fast, in a way that obviously Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson's still looking for a W, and Justin Fields is still kind of nailed to the bench there. The injury to Dalton might change that. I'm fascinated to see how Belichick is operating in his 2.0 right now.
Exactly. And so, like, you're watching those games, and, Mac Jones might be boring at this point, but if you appreciate Bill, there's always some storyline. There's always some angle. There's like, who are they going to come out and try to be this week? And, you know, Brady could oftentimes overshadow that and his greatness. So, like, to give Bill the floor a little bit, so to speak, and say, like, okay, now we can really appreciate the resourcefulness with which he coaches. And so, you know, the GM thing has been the biggest strike against his kind of legacy. I've been excited to watch a lot of these new faces in New England this year, and he's going to get an honest second crack at it with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal the next couple.
Chris Long here on the Rich Eisen Show, his Green Light podcast, where all podcasts are available. And just one last one on this is, I do enjoy, though, seeing Brady post Belichick, not football, but just personality-wise. I mean, the Tommy Gronke videos that they're doing, even though he's dead serious and getting this team focused on another Super Bowl, and it appears that they are lockstep. They're having fun with videos. I don't know if you saw Brady's, each week he's now, as you know, for a couple of years, he's been doing these hype videos on his social media. I don't know if you saw the one prior to the Falcons.
Yeah, they're impeccable, dude.
Well, I mean, the one prior to the Falcons, he did it in front of a screensaver, in front of a computer that the timestamp on it was 3:28. Because he's taken on the Falcons and the score was 28-3.
Yeah, he's got like all these Easter eggs and stuff for people to find, like, which goes to show you, like, Tom's creative, but he's got a solid team working under him. He doesn't have time to do all this stuff.
But I guess my question for you is this the Brady that you knew when you played with? Like, because we didn't see a lot of this stuff.
You know, I don't want to be the window into Tom Brady for the world, because that would be that wouldn't, like, he had better friends than me on that team by far, obviously, goes without saying. I mean, but I liked him, and I thought he was fun, and I thought he was easy going and, a good teammate. So, when you're up in New England, the building has no windows. That's not to say it's a bad thing, but, what happens there stays there, and I think they'll be like the island in a changing NFL landscape where, everybody else is, each player, their brand particularly well. But I thought, Bill let Cam be Cam too. So I think sometimes it's kind of overplayed, the New England is a vault thing. I just think, Tom has grown through years where Bill was learning to let players be players, and now Tom's in Tampa, and that's kind of is what it is now, and he can be who he is.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.